Welcome back, Deep Issuers. This is episode number 20 of the Deep Issues podcast. It's day 5015 in the search for Tim Shovelday. I'm your host, Josh Houselander. With me tonight, the Deep Issues panel, our producer, Adam Hernandez, and Deep Issues expert, Ed Zaharsky. How's it going, guys?
Awesome.
Like the
new intro music?
You like the scary music?
I did, yeah. It gave me the creeps, big time, big time. No, I love the new music, man. Good job, good on you. And it's very fitting because this is a creepy one this week. I think anyway. I was super creeped out doing research on this one. In fact, I was with my son doing research on this on Friday night, and we had to like turn off the computer.
Oh yeah,
he just couldn't handle it. I mean, I shouldn't have let my kid get as deep into this as
because your son is scared of the Cedar Point.
Yes.
The Hollow Weekends commercials.
No, my son. I have an 11-year-old son, hates anything creepy, and a 5-year-old daughter who I hope this isn't like a sign that she's gonna be a serial killer or something, but just loves like the creepiest stuff on earth as a little 5-year-old girl. So it is definitely a.
So your son won't be joining us for the for the Halloween episode next.
No, he will not be. And I talked to him. I talked to him right before I got here, and I told him, hey, you gonna tune in tonight? Deep Issues, Denver International Airport. He's like, yeah, no. So he's not listening tonight. But that is tonight's topic, the Denver International Airport. You may or may not have heard stuff about this in the past. There's so much to talk about with it. I mean, it really is crazy. I hope we can get to all of it, because there's a few aspects of this that you could do a show on, just that one aspect, but we are of course not going to do that. We are going to try to cram everything in tonight, but if you've never heard anything weird or strange or creepy about the Denver International Airport, then sit back and listen. If you have, and you know some of the weird stuff, well, we're going to get a little more in depth with some of this stuff tonight. Hopefully you guys learn something and get yourself an opinion on what is going on, if anything, at the Denver International Airport. Some basic info. The Denver International Airport opened on February 28th, 1995. That was 16 months behind schedule of when it was supposed to open, and they were $2 billion over budget. The cost of this airport altogether was $4.8 billion. That's a lot of money. Airports are expensive, but not typically that expensive. This is the largest airport in the United States. 35,000 acres, 56 square miles. It's almost twice the size of the second biggest airport in the United States. And just for a little gauge here, this is something that seems to always get thrown in as a gauge for stuff, but it is larger than the island of Manhattan. Just this airport.
Correct.
Manhattan, I know, isn't that big, but this is an airport.
For an airport, though.
Manhattan's a place where a whole bunch of people live. And this is an airport, and it is bigger than Manhattan.
And it takes up, building-wise, it takes up, far less than a third?
Right.
Of, the footprint that it's on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There are some insane stuff with this. We'll throw some, there's the scary blue horse, there's the Freemasonry symbols, there's the murals, there's the buildings, there's the potential tunnels. There is a whole bunch of other stuff. There's the strange shape of the runway. There's AUAG. There's really weird statues. There's a whole bunch of theories. One of the things to start out with, when you're going all the way back to 94, when this place was supposed to be opening, is Denver had a perfectly good airport. The old Denver airport was only 6 miles outside of Denver. Real close, centrally located, easy to get in and out of. It was perfectly fine. In fact, it was one of the better airports in the country.
What was it called?
Stapleton Airport.
Stapleton Airport?
Yep. It was one of the nicer airports in the country. I mean, living here in Detroit, we always have had one of the crappier airports in Metro.
Oh, Metro's gotten a lot better.
It has gotten way better of late, but I use that as...
It used to be pretty shitty.
Yeah,
though.
I mean, this was a big issue, like, when I was a kid, that, oh my god, Metro Airport sucks. What are we going to do about it? And they did improve it. They improved it leaps and bounds, and 20 years later, it's still open and improved upon, and it's not such a bad place now. It's pretty cool, actually.
I think it's actually one of the better airports now in the country.
It might be. I'm not somebody that flies a ton, so I don't have a bunch to compare it to. But yeah, Metro Airport in Detroit's pretty cool. But it was one of the worst. They put some money into it, took some time, and they built a new airport because they knew it's like, hey, this is a good location, and what are we gonna do? Build a whole new airport just because this one's kind of crappy? No. But over in Denver, they had an airport that was actually pretty good, and they decided to, are we going to improve on this one? No, we're going to just build a new one. And strangely enough, the Denver International Airport now is 25 miles outside of Denver. It's really in the middle of nowhere. Before the Denver International Airport was there, it was truly the middle of nowhere. Now I guess there's something because you got this airport around and people are milling around.
Typically, too, when you put an airport in somewhere, and again, I'm not a contractor or anything like that, but I'm assuming that an airport is no easy task to undertake when you're building something. Obviously, you need a substantial amount of land to do it, especially an international airport where you're going to have international flights and everything coming in, whatever. But yeah, usually airports too would seem, in the United States at least, are going to be not really centrally located, but within a reasonable amount of distance to the metropolitan area or the city that's serving. Yeah. Whether it's here in Detroit with Metro Airports to Romulus, that's what, maybe 20 minutes, if that, outside of Detroit.
Yeah.
Even in Chicago, if you're at O'Hare, again, just right outside the city. It's reasonable distance.
I flew into Vegas recently. You pretty much land right on the Strip.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
You're right. You're right. In the heart of everything,
well, Josh, you're there when the shooting and everything happened, but the airport is literally almost right on the grounds of Mandalay Bay is almost right on the grounds of the airport.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
But yeah, that's generally what you have is these large international airports either being within the metropolitan area that it serves, or just right outside of the city that it serves. So,
and like you were saying, Adam, I too do not have a tremendous amount of knowledge about the construction of airports, but one thing that they've run into is when they've tried to do research on the DIA is the contractors who have worked on it seem to know very little about why things happened or why things are done certain ways. And they claim that supposedly it's because there were tons of small groups in different firms, different construction firms working there, and they were not allowed to interact with each other.
One thing, Josh, anybody who's listening to Detroit, when Josh obviously says DIA, he's not referring to the Detroit Institute of Arts. He's referring to the Denver International Airport.
Yeah, we will be saying the DIA a lot tonight. We are referring to the Denver International Airport, not the Detroit Institute of Arts, not what the DIA may mean in your hometown, wherever you are listening from. But yeah, DIA equals Denver International Airport for the course of this show, because I definitely don't want to keep saying Denver International Airport all night long. Back to Stapleton a little bit. Now, the new DIA is much larger than Stapleton was. It's true. It is but it actually has about the same amount of runways. That actually, capacity-wise, for flights coming in and out, can't really handle any more than Stapleton could. They didn't, with all the size they used, they didn't give it any more, they didn't give it any more capability.
Again, when you're thinking of, why you would build a new airport, aside from maybe upgrading the facilities there, which again you can renovate, which is what they usually do in a lot of different places. given the land that it's on, you'd have figured that they would have put more runways in,
right,
to better serve or better handle more incoming air traffic.
And yeah, they've claimed things such as, well, the way the runways are set up now, we can run planes in side by side coming from different directions, and with the planes getting bigger and the larger wingspans, the new runways are capable of handling that. Yet planes haven't gotten a whole lot bigger since Stapleton, and Stapleton used to handle everything. So
I don't know if
I know that was a thing. Going back to Detroit, there is Adam mentioned that where the big airport here in the Detroit area is Metro Airport, which is just outside of Detroit. There is an airport in Detroit called City Airport, which is still functioning.
It's called Coleman Young International
Is
Airport
it?
now.
Okay. Well, everyone always calls it City Airport.
It's City, yeah. City
But the thing is with that airport is that it came up and was state of the art right when the big 747 started coming in, and they couldn't handle that.
Mm-hmm.
So they did put in Metro Airport, which is actually run by Wayne County, not the city of Detroit.
Yes.
But again, nobody cares about that right now. That's not why you tuned in tonight to hear about Metro Airport.
We could do a deep issues on Metro Airport if we have to.
Yeah, I guess if somebody wants us to. But that really isn't the case with Stapleton. Stapleton used to handle all these big planes, so that really isn't the thing. One of the crazier conspiracy theories, one that I have a feeling, I know Adam isn't really on board with. I don't know how much I'm on board with it, and I haven't talked to Ed about it yet. But one of the crazier ones that links directly to that is the shape of the runway. A lot of people say, and it does. I mean, it does kind of look like it. A lot of people say that the runway, or the system of runways at the DIA, is shaped like a swastika. Weird, right? I mean, why? Now, I feel like some of it's overblown because sometimes you see the picture and they've kind of like drawn the swastika. And it's like, well, anything looks like a swastika when you draw a big swastika on it. But
it also doesn't mean that even if they intended it that way, that they're a bunch of neo-Nazis either, because the symbol was around prior to Nazi Germany using it, and a lot of the symbolism that is used by the Illuminati spans centuries. So it's
it's true. It is. If you're making an occult reference, a swastika may not mean Nazi.
No, I went into a Jain temple before here in the Metro Detroit area, and across the border of one of their main worship rooms was a bunch of swastikas. And obviously, Jainism has nothing to do with Nazism or Nazi Jersey or anything like that. So,
now, does the runway look like a swastika? Yeah, it kind of does. It actually kind of does. And the thing that I find weird about it, and the reason why I started with this, isn't because I think it's the most profound conspiracy when it comes to DIA, but it goes back to what we were talking about with the runways. Why would you do that? Why would you have runways that are shaped in that way? And when the people at DIA are asked about it, they give official answers like, oh, yeah, I've heard that. Well, we call it a pinwheel. We think it looks more like a pinwheel, is an actual quote. And the reason they give is they say, well, we did that so they wouldn't overlap. So they could all be running side by side. But what's curious about that sounds great, right? Okay, well, it takes up less room. But why did you build the biggest airport in the country and then create this strange runways that then save space? And there is tons of space around the runways. They could have put in 5 of these things. So it's totally unnecessary.
Wouldn't you kind of expect, if that were the case, that there'd be a few other airports in the world, either when they renovate or build new, that they would say, hey, there's this super efficient design, let's use it, let's make swastika runways.
We didn't talk about this before the show, but that was going to be my next point exactly, is they would tell you that, no, it's just a super efficient way. It's the best possible way to run these things. Then, is there one other airport that has anything similar to that? No. And none of them have the space capability that DIA has. None of them have the room that DIA has. Yet none of them have felt the need to make a strange shaped runway like this.
I don't know. When I look at something like that, though, I mean, yeah, it does. If you do take a good look at it, it does kind of form the shape of a swastika. But I mean, I touched on it a couple minutes ago that even if that was the case, it doesn't mean that they're neo-Nazis. Now, the thing is, unfortunately, that symbol has become
synonymous.
more synonymous. There you go, Josh, with Nazism. But I mean, even if there was a larger conspiracy to all of this, why Nazism? Why is that? Why does that have anything to do with any of this? I guess you can go back to the notion that, okay, maybe Hitler was trying to create a new world order, which is something that they say the Illuminati is trying to do. But I don't know. To me, when you look at something like that, I tend to think that specifically is much more of a coincidence and much more of the mind seeing what it wants to see than some of the other things at Denver International Airport.
Although this is not the only thing.
No, it's not the only thing. I think no, you're right. I just think that that's something in a sense that the mind sees what it wants to see, as opposed to some of the other pieces of evidence we see at Denver International Airport.
And I don't disagree with you, Adam. This is not, like I had said before, this is not, to me, one of the more profound things of all the things going on at DIA. But one thing that I do find strange is there is an idea of perception, and people do understand things. And how didn't anyone ever look at this beforehand? The hundreds of people dumping billions of dollars into this and seeing this ahead of time, didn't they say, well, hey guys, doesn't that kind of look like a swastika?
These things don't just randomly, no building. I mean, this building we're in right now didn't just randomly go up. Pretty much everything goes by a blueprint, and something this size probably had dozens, if not, triple digit engineers on it who meticulously worked through every nook and cranny.
Tons of reworks.
Yep. And that was looked at upon by many, many people. And you don't look at something like that and not eventually pick up on that. I mean, it doesn't go through the hands of all of the people who designed it and all the people who built it, and then somebody flying overhead one day is like, oh, hey, a swastika. Like, you can't make a coincidence like that.
It is weird. And for those of you listening at home after the show, or if you open up another window on your computer or something, Google image it. I mean, you be the judge of whether or not you think it looks like a swastika. And again, a lot of them, have the thing where they have kind of outlined it for you. And like I said before, anything looks like a swastika when you draw a big swastika on it. So that's, I mean, I don't get accused of being a conspiracy debunker often, but I mean, that is one little debunk I'll throw out there for you. As we mentioned, big time over budget, right? I mean, this was going to be an expensive airport anyway. It's going to be well over $2 billion to build this airport. Came in at 4.6. Who paid for it? Shouldn't the people of Denver be complaining that their airport was over budget? Actually, no, because for once, the government didn't pay for it. This wasn't funded by taxpayer dollars. It wasn't funded by the people. The government didn't pay for it. The federal government, the state government, they didn't pay for it. It was funded 100% by private donors. Who were they? Who is this group of people? We don't know. We have no idea who shelled out the $4.6 billion to build this airport. Now, I mean, are airports big money makers? I'm sure they can be. I'm sure they can be to some degree, but is that a good investment? Shell out $4.6 billion for the returns you then make on your airport?
Hey,
It doesn't
Josh.
seem like it. It seems like a pretty lousy idea, actually.
For anybody that's watching, we can go ahead and put up an image right now on the show of the runways.
Yeah, and I know some of you are listening instead of watching.
Yeah.
But for those of you watching on Facebook Live or watching on a place where we're streaming video
So
as well,
there it is.
and it does look like a swastika. I mean, I see the swastika. Am I looking for it? Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Well, that's exactly my point. If somebody says, "Hey, look, there's a swastika right there," and you actually try to look for it, then yeah, you could kind of make out some of the the different lines that make it up. But
also, though, if you look at it, if you take the scenery out of the picture and you look at just the building, which you would see on a blueprint, it looks far more like a swastika.
It does. And actually, the other things jotting off of it, where you say like, oh, well, it looks like a swastika, but there's all this other stuff too. That's not the runway. The actual runway itself is shaped like a swastika. I mean, it is shaped like a swastika. Is it really just the best possible way to? Maybe it is.
I'm not seeing it. I mean, when you try to look at something. When you try to look for it, then yes, like I was saying, you could kind of decipher a bit of a swastika.
It's missing it's missing the
but
like
it's
left
it's
leg.
It's a huge it's a stretch when you sit there and try to say, oh yeah, that's definitely a swastika on there. That is making a stretch.
Yeah, I guess, but I think it's just as big of a stretch to say like, no, definitely not a swastika. Yeah, I think it lies somewhere in between there. But that's just me. But hey, like we said though, we're not here to debate each other on this stuff. Go look at it, and if you think go take a look.
Oh, you know what? Aaron has a retort.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. He is a Colorado native.
Okay. Good.
He says Stapleton was awful. I remember how terrible everyone bitched about it, and I was like 8. Even with DIA being in a secluded area, they connected it to the proposed light rail system, and you don't even need to drive there now.
Yeah, that's cool. That is, and you know what? Thank you, Aaron, for that. Do appreciate it, and I have heard other people say that Stapleton wasn't as good as everybody says. It was out of date, and it was. But by the numbers, people said that Stapleton was one of the better airports in the U.S. at the time. Does that mean that it still would be, or did sometimes things are okay. I'll use an example again here in Detroit. We had the Palace of Auburn Hills where the Detroit Pistons used to play. That was one of the better stadiums.
It was still a good stadium.
It was still a great stadium, but they did kind of deem that we can't make this any better, and if we want to stay with the times, we're gonna have to. And plus, I wanted to move to Detroit.
Well, I think that had more to do with it.
But so I mean,
else.
it's not like just to go with the point though that it's not like it's unheard of to shut something down that wasn't on the brink of falling apart. Mm-hmm. I mean. Denver, at that point especially, was becoming a much more bustling area, a bigger city, and perhaps even if it was decent, they said, it's decent now, it won't be in...
Oh yeah, every new airport is always better than the one.
So maybe it is actually... maybe they actually had some good foresight for once, and we're doing the right thing by getting rid of Stapleton. So thank you for that, Aaron. Do appreciate it. Thanks for listening. And what do you guys want to talk about next? You want to talk about the 5 buildings?
With the fuel tanks.
The fuel tank? Yeah, go for it, man.
They have, I think it's 40% more fuel than the next largest airport, or the largest airport in the world, which is in Saudi Arabia. Like, basically far more fuel than they would ever need at this airport.
Really? I was not aware of that.
What do you need all that fuel
Especially for? And they have 40% more than Saudi Arabia, where oil's like,
like
a
water.
nickel a gallon, where they could just stockpile like crazy if they wanted to.
Yep,
that is.
I didn't hear the fuel one.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like, what are they stockpiling it for?
Yeah, what do you need all that for?
Spaceships take more fuel than planes, perhaps.
Yep,
that's a crazy one.
Or if there is some sort of bunker or planned sort of enclosure to protect people, something to live off of.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of conjecture about what lies beneath the Denver International Airport. Just what exactly is underneath this thing. We know there's a bunch underneath it. That is an absolute fact. We know that there is a huge system of tunnels, a complex network of tunnels down there. And we also know for sure that, and this goes into why they went so over budget, or at least they would tell you, is that they built 5 multi-leveled buildings while they were doing this. And then they decided, although they've never really said exactly what was wrong with them, they decided that they were wrong. That these 5 enormous buildings that were built in place, where they wanted them, that no, we don't like them.
But they didn't knock them down.
But they didn't knock them down. They didn't knock them down. They didn't leave them and use them for something else. You'd think if you just built them, maybe you'd be like, well, what can we use them for? Can we put restaurants in them? What can we do with them? They didn't knock them down. Didn't leave them. They buried them. They buried them under the airport, and we absolutely know that they do still have access to these 5 multi-leveled underground buildings underneath there. What do they use them for? They say they use them for storage. Nothing more. We just store stuff in them. Because you just need 5 shopping mall center sized buildings to just store stuff in.
If you were a private investor, wouldn't you be a little pissed off about that?
Yeah, you would think so.
About them building 5 buildings and then burying them.
Yeah, especially knowing that the budget went over.
But since we don't know who these private investors were, we can't ask them. So it just adds to it. So there are these 5 buildings down there, and the people that work there say that they have access to everything, and then they also say that these are just used for storage, but they actually don't know how to get to them. They supposedly. They're, there's a lot of tunnels, and we can't really, not one person could know how to work through all of them. That's curious. So what has this led people to believe? Well, let's go with the official story. They claimed that they were setting it up for an enormous rail system underneath, where they would move luggage with basically conveyors and all robotics underneath there. But that never worked. It never worked.
I remember, like we were talking about on the way over here, Josh, that they had that huge amount of problems with their baggage systems, and that was one of the main, the big problems that was that was reported on with Denver International Airport were the problems with the baggage system and the handling and everything like that. So.
And, a lot goes into this. Yeah. And, Adam says he remembers that being news in the 90s. I don't ever recall hearing anything about the DIA till well into the 2000s when I started hearing about the conspiracy, to be honest with you. But Adam's talking about how, this was in the news, and they were talking about this huge rail system that
But they weren't
going to be awesome, and it just didn't work.
But they weren't talking about conspiracy or anything like that. They were talking about
framed differently.
Sure.
Well, they were just talking about there's this new airport that costs billions of dollars in Denver. They have a major problem right now with their baggage handling system,
and they never did get it fixed. It doesn't work. They do use these tunnels to transport the baggage, but it's just the same way. It's just like in little cars, and they just are using them because it's faster, because then they can drive faster or something because there's nobody in the way. There's a little mini, I thought this was kind of interesting, and I don't believe it, but there's a little mini debunking conspiracy within the conspiracy, and that was that some people said that the reason the rail system never got off, it isn't anything nefarious or conspiracy oriented. The reason is the unions got involved and didn't want all the union workers, because these baggage guys are unionized. They didn't want a bunch of jobs lost because this was all automated. So they wouldn't allow the airport to work it. That isn't an unheard of idea. But if that's the case, then why not say so? You know, why not just why don't the people at the DIA come out and say, hey, listen, we tried, unions shut us down, and hey, I guess more jobs is better, right? So who cares? But no, they never really say that. They just kind of throw out that veiled thing, like, no, here's the conspiracy.
We're getting
debunk the conspiracy.
We're getting some more feedback here from Aaron.
Okay.
He says, having been down in the underground, it's pretty creepy. They have monorails and tunnels that don't lead to concourses. And then the monorails that lead to the concourses are dope, though. So.
Yeah, no, and there's some people who've said it's, you know, I mean, it's kind of a weird airport. It's a cool airport, I guess. But yeah, there's definitely a lot down there. So I mean, people tend to have some crazy ideas. What is down there? Is it a bunker for the elites? Is it a full secret city? Some people believe that there's actually just a big hidden city down there, brimming with people. That would go into why they need a whole bunch more fuel and a whole bunch of other things like Ed brought up. Is it simply a bunker to hide the elites if ever needed? Is it a concentration camp run by FEMA for when things get nasty? Is it like the new middle of the country Gitmo for when the dissidents start coming out?
I've heard the bunkers for the elites, the world elites, world leaders. I've even heard the concentration camp, the Gitmo type of conspiracies as well. And Josh, you and I were mentioning this earlier about the sprinkler system that's supposedly down there in some of these more hidden tunnels. That
talk a little more about that.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is true.
Just throw it out
yeah,
there.
I'm not. No. I know. I'm just giving myself a disclaimer a bit here that I don't necessarily believe in this, but this is some of the stuff that's talked about of, you know, in terms of what's down in some of these more secretive tunnels, is that there's a sprinkler system down there, and people are wondering, okay, well, why do they need a big sprinkler system in these big concrete tunnels? And we're going to talk about something something else a little bit, later on, I'm sure, about the AUAG stuff that you see around the airport itself. But they're thinking that the sprinkler systems aren't meant for feeding water into these areas. They're meant for feeding gas into these tunnels, which would, again, further feed into the notion that it's a concentration type camp or death camp, or like a Gitmo type of place used for executing mass numbers of people. So
and there's a lot of talk of genocide around this. Adam, tell the folks at home about the barbed wire fences.
Yeah, and this is something else.
I found this very interesting.
I'm not saying this is true.
You don't have to preface it every time.
I know. I thought that the source on this seemed a little sketchy, but typically you would, at a prison or just anywhere. I mean, if anywhere that you go, even around here, Ed, I'm sure you drive, you've driven in Romulus, kind of on the outskirts of Metro Airport. And whenever there's a big facility that has high fencing that you'd usually try to keep people out from, the curve on that fencing at the top would usually go towards the area that you wanna keep people out from. So if you want to keep people from getting in there, the curve is usually pointed towards the outside of the fence.
You usually give like a 45-degree angle.
Exactly.
Outward, so then you'd have to go up and over the barbed wire, the razor wire. A very difficult feat, where if you're coming from the other way, it would still be difficult, but you could kind of get up to the top and leap over it then.
Exactly. If you're trying to climb up the fence and there's a curve getting in your way that's going over top of you instead of over the other way, it's going to be extremely tough to try to get over that fence. According to some of the theory out there, is
the fence is reversed. So the curve is pointing inward instead of outward, which would lead some to believe that instead of trying to keep people out, they're trying to keep people from getting out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's probably something you could dial up on Google Image perhaps as well too. Really, if you think about it, but that's definitely interesting stuff. You guys familiar with do you guys remember at all? It was in the news a little bit. The comet Elenin, I believe is how you pronounce it. Came. They told us there was no threat of it coming and hitting the Earth. It was it could have been a world killer, but they said no, there isn't a threat. It's gonna pass right by us. But and then it ended up getting closer. It came closer to us than we thought it was going to. But strangely enough, despite this not being on Air Force One's docket for the day, President Obama was directed to Denver the day that the comet was passing us by, and many theorize that there's a reason why he was directed to Denver, because they weren't sure that comet was
actually going to hit the Earth.
They weren't positive that it wasn't going to hit the Earth.
And you know what? You know what though, Josh? I mean, I don't think it should be. I don't necessarily think that any of a bunker to house important people should be something of a conspiracy, because that's something that actually you would think is something they maybe should do. I mean, the United States government, even though they will deny it, they do have a doomsday plane, which looks exactly like Air Force One, except the doomsday plane is meant for running the government when there's catastrophe happening. And there are noted pictures of the doomsday plane circling above the White House and Washington, D.C. when 9/11 was happening. And that's, again, it's one of those secrets the government will deny that they know everybody else knows about.
Right. And I know what you're saying, Adam. I'm as small government as as you can get, pretty much. But it's not that nefarious.
No, it's not.
To think that they have some spots hidden around the country to try to keep a government functioning.
If you thought everybody in the government was completely honest and you loved them and you're at them, you still want them to. You still want them to have some sort of protection against doomsday scenarios.
Sure. We don't all have Secret Service agents.
You want them to maintain a working government.
You probably want military bases that have the same thing. You basically want contingencies in place. You don't necessarily want your enemies or everybody to know about it either.
Sure, and that's why, I mean, this is why you kind of get on board with it being just a giant bunker that would house important government officials in, whether it's in the United States or allies around the world, whether it's bringing in Theresa May or whoever,
or making Merkel stay outside.
but it fits though. It's an international airport where you're able to where it's able to handle mass amounts of air traffic coming in, and you don't have to go far from there. It's right there on the premises. You can go down there and wait and wait out whatever it is you're waiting out. So
no, it's true. And what better place than Denver, surrounded by mountains, right in the middle of the country, pretty much right in between LA and New York. I mean, what better place to have it there than in Denver? Quite frankly, after all the research
Aaron points out that it's 90 minutes from NORAD too.
Okay, good point. Not too far from Area 51 either.
It's just a little bit further away from Area 51.
Well, I didn't say it was 90 minutes, but it's well, why do you think Area 51's where it is? So another thing that they denied for years, and now they said, yeah, no, it's there. It's there. It always has been.
Does anybody actually think it's not there?
The government acknowledges it now.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the government actually acknowledges that Area 51 does exist. They don't say there's aliens there, but They for years and years said it didn't. They lied about it, and then when people are coming out with more and more pictures, they said, no, there is an Area 51. It is there. We don't call it Dreamland, and there isn't aliens there.
Just shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah, but yeah, they acknowledge it's there after years of disavowing any knowledge of it whatsoever. But with all the research I've done with this place here, I know that maybe some of the stuff we're saying is crazy. I know maybe you think it's crazy. I know maybe you just want to debunk it all. But if you think nothing is going on at the DIA, you're nuts. There's something going on.
Well, let's keep on going on.
There's too many weird things happening. And listen, the idea that it's a bunker for the elites, it's that at the very least. You can almost be certain of that. That exists and that is there. There's some sort of bunker for elites. And hey, I don't blame them. Really. You can't get more small government than me, but I don't blame them. That's cool. Whatever. You're gonna hide the president? Hide the president. I get it. I grab a couple of senators and a couple of congressmen, keep a working government, at least one cabinet member. VP will probably be dead somewhere. I don't know. Or hiding somewhere else so you can.
Josh wants Rand Paul wrapped in bubble wrap before he's put down there too, just in case, right?
Oh, jeez. If Rand Paul was president, yeah, I would definitely want him protected. But I wouldn't want him hiding in a place that might be connected to the Illuminati, because now he's dead for sure. But let's talk about some of the stuff, some of the crazier stuff, some of the stranger things that are there, because some of this stuff, a lot of people are going to write off as, oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. Oh, it's goofy. You're looking for stuff. But if this is some sort of hideout for elites, if there is something strange going on there, why the subtle hints? Why do they do this? So, what do you guys want to talk about first? The Mustang statue or the murals?
Let's pretend like we're actually going there. Okay. So the first thing we're going to see is Blucifer.
Yes, Blue Mustang is the official name of the horse, but it is called by locals Blucifer because it is a 32-foot tall, 9,000-pound statue of an enormous bluish horse with red eyes that reportedly glow red all times of the night and day.
And it may be cursed.
And it may be cursed. Oh, what do you mean it might be cursed? That's crazy. What do you think? That the guy who was making it died? Yes.
So
wait, that he died at the hands or the head of this horse?
The man who was creating Blucifer, Luis Jimenez, in 2006, while he was putting the finishing touches on it, the head fell off, hit him in the leg, burst an artery, and he died. So this statue killed its creator. But what did they do? They put the head back on and they sent it out there, and it is the first thing you see. And if you don't think that image of this horse is one of the creepiest things you've ever seen in your life, then you're
I'm sure it costs a lot of money.
I don't know about it being red at all times. I'm looking at a picture that the eyes are actually white, but man, this thing is creepy. Like, they have veins on it.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Airports are family places. Like, right. People travel with their families.
And it's a place where a lot of people are already nervous.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things we're going to talk about, a lot of people are scared to fly. A lot of people are nervous when I
get a little jittery when I fly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not scared of flying, but I hate flying because it's stressful. I'm always scared that I'm going to miss my flight or
even
be in the wrong place.
Crashing, those things. It's, did I remember to pack whatever?
Right.
How is the flight going to be delayed? Is it going to be bumpy?
Right. You're looking over your shoulder because you lose sight of your kid for 1 second and you freak out. And,
my leg's going to cramp up because there's no space on there.
Right. So, I mean, it's a stressful place. Why on earth would you greet the people rolling up to your airport with a huge horse?
This thing's creepy no matter where it's at.
Right.
I mean, just the fact that it's at an airport makes it even worse.
Right.
But yeah, the eyes do light up red though.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
the eyes are horrible either way. Looking at them when they're white, it's still creepy.
No, but I know what you're saying too about the veins, because it's all like a side shot of it. And it does have
like look, it's like so obvious, and then you see like they're everywhere. Like it's like
and you know the.
And his junk.
Have junk? Does it?
Oh yeah. And I mean, one of the big names in the world of conspiracy theory, Milton William Cooper. I always almost find some way to bring him up in all these deep issues because I'm a huge fan of his, and I think he was a brilliant man. But Milton William Cooper, what was the name of his book? His famous conspiracy theory book?
Behold a Pale Horse.
Behold a Pale Horse was the name of his book.
Well, this isn't a pale horse; it's blue.
Yeah, but that is the I mean, if the horse was...
Well, it's a demon horse. It was red, and it's pale now, so now it's blue.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But that is the name, and where does Behold a Pale Horse come from? It comes, of course, from the Book of Revelations. The fourth horseman of the apocalypse, the bringer of death, is, the large, scary horse. So what do they put in a place where everyone's scared they're going to die? A big, scary horse. Way to go, DIA. That's classy. I mean, is that just? I don't think people are that dumb to do that. Is that just a sick joke, or is that?
It's not like Colorado state animals like the horse or anything either. Like,
right. I mean, but it would be one thing if this was outside. If say it was this creepy, just because they didn't realize how creepy it was when they were making it, but. If this was outside, like, the Ford plant where they made Mustangs or something, you'd be like, oh, that's creepy, but, hey, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Right.
It'd still be creepy, though.
Yeah, it'd still be creepy, but it'd be like, well, horsepower, right?
I don't know.
If it was here in Detroit, maybe they'd scream horsepower or something.
The Broncos, those kind of synonymous with Denver, the Denver Broncos. So, I mean, it's not like it's not like there isn't some type of connection to the area.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I would. I mean, if I was in charge of the artwork at Denver International Airport, I would probably avoid. Like, I wouldn't be against putting a big horse on there, but I definitely wouldn't put a blue horse. No, not that one. I'd still be flipping through the catalog here.
Yeah. And just for a place that went $2 billion over budget before this horse statue was put up. Why did they do that? They just felt like going more over budget. I mean, totally unnecessary. I mean, at the very least, it's totally unnecessary and creepy as hell looking.
I'm actually kind of I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't taken it down.
Me too.
I mean,
I'm very surprised.
I mean, some of the other stuff that we're gonna mention here, they have done away with, but
correct. And he is, of course, alluding to the very famous murals. Although, before we jump into the murals, I'll say that Blucifer is not the only weird statue at the DIA. There are several statues up high inside the actual airport that show suitcases popped open and gargoyles and demons popping out of them.
That's another nice thing to see at an airport.
That's something that's that's kind of funny, but I mean that you're gonna put that in your airport. That maybe the suitcases here have demons and gargoyles on them. I don't know. I mean, that just seems like a really dumb thing to put in an airport. Again. That maybe more than anything just seems like a really dumb thing. Why make your satanic or demonic gestures revolve around suitcases when you're
gargoyles aren't satanic. I mean,
they're just really
scary. I mean Gothic era churches used to put gargoyles on the outside to ward off the demons. But yeah, definitely not.
So they needed something to
the demons in this case.
But yeah, look, I agree.
They have both. Some are gargoyles, some are demons.
Kind of a weird choice selection when you're when you're looking at artwork for your airport.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would get passed through. But yet, government officials and the mayor of Denver at the time, all of these things did go through them, and they were approved by dozens of people. dozens of elected officials aside from the privately funded people who approved them.
But do you believe that you can spend all this money and put all of this meticulous effort and planning into this airport and then just kind of throw in some random statues and murals? Like, you think that's coincidence or a mistake?
Well, I think it's, I don't know, call it coincidence, call it whatever. I think a lot of this is just a poor choice of. It's just a poor choice of the direction you want to go.
See, I tend to go more with that, and I think that I think it's deliberate. Why is it deliberate? I don't know. Is there some guy who doesn't want his name revealed, who just has a sick sense of humor, who's just like running this place and he's just wants this? Maybe. I'll buy that before I buy the idea that it's just happenstance, that it just came about, that no other airports in the country have like one single creepy thing you can find, but this one's got dozens of them. I guess I don't buy that it's a coincidence. It could be, though. I mean, you can never rule out that something is a coincidence unless you know know what's behind it. And we don't know what's behind it.
Sure, accidentalism.
Yeah. No, it's a legitimate philosophy, usually used for debunking purposes, but it can't be 100% denied, the idea of accidentalism. So it's out there. Before we get to the murals again, let's talk about the dedication stone.
Mm-hmm.
Dedication stone reads that this went up on March 3rd, 1994. I'm sorry, March 19th, 1994. It didn't. The airport didn't open until February 28th, 1995. But the dedication stone is March 19th, 1994. There's a time capsule buried under it that says it has artifacts for the people of Denver to remember what this time was like, not to be open till 2094, 100 years, which is a pretty normal thing. There is a very famous image on the dedication stone, the square and compass with the big G, the symbol of the Freemasons. I've heard some people say there is potential Freemason symbolism on it. No, there isn't potential Freemason. There's the Freemason symbol is on it. It's huge and it's on it. I have a thing, which this kind of gives me the creeps from time to time, but I have a official Freemason letter in my home from when my great-grandfather was made a Freemason. It's the official letterhead, and it's got that same exact symbol on it. It is absolutely positively, it's not potential symbolism. It's the Freemason symbol is on there. So obviously, hey, there's a lot of rich Freemasons. Obviously, some of the people who were commissioning this airport were Freemasons. Nothing necessarily nefarious about that, and they wanted to show it off. Hey, if I was a Freemason and I had millions of dollars and I was pumping it into something, maybe I'd want the symbol of my society on there too. They probably helped out. That's fine.
Another connection to that, Josh, is what's the date on that plaque again?
March 19th, 1994.
When you add up the numbers on there, 1994, not 19 plus 1,194.
1994.
Yeah, it equals 33, which is the highest level of Freemasonry.
Correct. That is there.
Coincidence.
Yeah. Especially since, that, well, if that's when it opens, but it's not when it opened. It actually is not when the airport opened at all, and it's not when they put the stone there, and it's not anything, so... Well, I've heard a lot of people. This is one that people like to write off a lot. That adds to 33. It's like, you're always finding stuff in Freemasonry that adds to 33.
Josh,
it's no big deal. It's like, well, but why'd they put that date? Because the date doesn't mean anything otherwise.
Josh,
it's not the day it opened. Yes.
Question for you: Founding Fathers weren't a number of them?
Oh yeah, many
Freemasons.
Yep. Okay. Absolutely. Yep. Washington, Franklin, Jefferson. Yep, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
A lot of Freemasons amongst the the founding fathers for sure, and a whole bunch of theories that revolve around that too. That we actually covered on our Secret Society show briefly. The Adam Weishaupt and stuff like that. But we won't get into that today. Interesting stuff. Super interesting stuff. And hey, there is, aside from that, there is a ton of Freemasons, and this doesn't necessarily mean anything nefarious, but there's a ton of Freemasons to this day in positions of power, in business, in government, and just very rich people out there. Very rich and powerful people who are Freemasons and connected to Freemasonry. We mentioned, hey, maybe some of these people that were putting this thing together were Freemasons, right? Well, it says who dedicated the dedication stone and who set up the DIA right on the dedication stone. So we know who set it up. It was set up by the New World Airport Commission, is what it says on the dedication stone. Strange choice of title, considering the theories that revolve around the Illuminati and wanting to create a new world order and other things going back to the New World Order. But the name of them were the were the New World Airport Commission. Who is the New World Airport Commission? Nah, it doesn't exist. It actually does not exist anywhere,
at least yet.
So so it was commissioned by the New World Airport Commission, but that does not exist anywhere on paper, anywhere in the entire world. There is no New World Airport Commission that we know of. But there must have been something, because they felt the need to put it on a dedication stone in the center of this really strange-looking airport that isn't nefarious at all. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. As you are walking through the DIA, you will be confronted. You still will be confronted with some murals. But some of them have been painted over. But when you first walked through the DIA, these murals were interesting, to say the least. They are on the 5th level of the DIA and were created by a man named Leo Taguma, who says there's nothing weird about them at all. These were made in 94, and, then the airport opened in 95. They have some definite strange symbolism on them. Got a lot of dead animals, a lot of apocalyptic things taking place. The first one, and one that has been covered up since then, is a picture of what seems to be a soldier, a stormtrooper almost, I guess you'd want to call him. I mean, he looks like a kind of like a Darth Vader Nazi-esque figure.
When you say stormtrooper, I thought he was wearing like a white body armor.
No.
Is it
I guess like a shore trooper, maybe.
Shore trooper.
If you want to go Star Wars, no, because he is wearing gray. It's a Nazi.
That'd be badass if it was.
Yeah,
like
I mean, he's definitely designed to look like
a
a Nazi type thing. But there's some Vader-esque things going on too, because he's wearing a big gas mask on his face. A big gas mask. He is holding a machine gun with a big bayonet on it in his left hand, and in his right hand is an enormous Saracen sword that is stabbing a dove, which we all know is the universal symbol of peace. Behind him, like almost as if it's leaving a trail from the sword, from the swing of the sword, is a big streak in the sky that many have made the idea of chemtrails.
It's a rainbow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big kind of rainbow chemtrail thing going on behind him. And he is slicing in half 2 huge buildings. I don't know, did anything like that ever happen here in
his sword's still shiny despite having cut through the buildings.
Right. But the buildings are ablaze. They are on fire. And they are then, once the buildings are cut in half and burning to the ground, and there are crying women holding dead babies next to it. The the sword is stabbing the universal symbol for peace, as if perhaps maybe someday there will be two buildings that fall, and then that group of people will be in a perpetual war. From that moment on, which is kind of what's happened to the United States of America. If you go into this, of course, this was made in 1994, several years before 9/11 took place. If you're going to even draw that conclusion, you know what? Maybe you think my conclusion about 9/11.
Was he a big fan of Back to the Future 1?
Perhaps. Maybe you think my chemtrail part or my 9/11 thing, maybe you think that's crazy. Throw that out altogether.
Okay.
This picture's creepy as hell.
Yes, it is.
This picture is it certainly does not belong in an airport. And after years of people being freaked out by it and complaining about it, they have finally painted over it.
If this were in our DIA, it would be creepy.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, if this was in the Detroit Institute of Arts, you'd be like, well, it's art, for sure, but damn, that's a creepy picture.
Yep.
One of the other aspects to this, I believe that the sword is also pointing to something else, and it's not in the mural. I believe it's on the floor next to the mural.
There is a, yes, there is. I don't have the name of the person, but there is a note from a Auschwitz survivor that it is pointing to.
Yes, but there's also something on the floor too that I believe that the sword is pointing to.
Oh, okay. That I don't know about that.
It is the
which again, why is there a note from an Auschwitz survivor at an airport? That's just strange.
No, but there's more symbolism too in other areas of the airport, and I think
well, that's just the first picture.
Well, I think the sword is pointing to this, but I think it's on the floor. There's a plaque or of some sort, whether you want to call it a plaque or just a tile on the floor that has a that what looks to be like a cart with AUAG written on it.
Yes.
And people think that this could possibly mean gold and silver, which it very well could.
Yeah, I mean, most people know AUAG. That's the the symbols for gold and silver, which could just be money, right?
Another thing that people are attributing this to is Australia antigen, which is a hepatitis B virus, and they're thinking that the gray streaks that are shown in that particular part of the mural are Australia antigen being used
very
to
deadly piece of that has been theorized could be used for biological warfare.
Exactly.
And one of the man who created it, the scientist who discovered it, not created it, who discovered it, is said to have
donated money
to the DIA.
Yep.
So yeah, there is several places around here. Yeah, there is a small one there that it points to. You're correct. And then there is another picture of a little cart that says AUAG on it as well in there. Also, another thing worth pointing out that there's kind of Nazi-esque things going on with the way the soldier looks, but the sword that is cutting the buildings, or that is stabbing the dove, is a Saracen sword, also known as an Arabic sword, as in the war, being directed towards perhaps could be a symbol of Islam or Arabic people attacking. Why that type of sword, other than to show that symbolism? Not a type of sword that you would normally see, but I mean, a Saracen sword is absolutely a symbol of the Muslim culture. Cool swords. I love those swords, actually. But a lot of people have noted that it is an Arabic sword that is chopping the buildings in half. Some other murals. It goes on. These murals, by the way, it's technically 2 murals, even before they were painted over. And they are called Peace and Harmony with Nature and Children of the World Dream of Peace are the titles of these. The next one in the line of secession, I think I'm doing the line of how you're supposed to look at them, but if I'm not, I apologize. The next one, the part that is referred to as this is the Children of the World Dream of Peace, is this one's really busy. Really busy. And you have a young girl in front of a kind of a flowery type thing. Okay, I'm trying to work my computer and I'm not doing that great of a job. And she seems to have a halo over her head and is kind of worshiping something, and you have different people of different races, but the grown-ups seem to definitely be gone. They are being overlooked by a leopard, I guess it is, a tiger of some sort, and 2 cubs. Some people tried to draw a correlation between Barack Obama with the leopard up there, because the two, although the leopard looks like a leopard, it definitely looks like a leopard, but the 2 cubs, their faces are little girls.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Little girls.
Oh, my God.
Like he's, something is going over thing of peace or something. And
God, that's such a stretch. I am sorry.
Perhaps, but
it is.
Well, it's a leader of some kind, and 2 young girls is where it comes from. Listen, we're just pointing out symbolism here.
I know, but stuff like that. I mean, the stuff that people want to find in this sort of thing.
Well,
it's hilarious.
That's what symbolism is, though. I mean, in a lot of ways, that's what.
There's symbolism.
All right, well then you're gonna hate what I have in store for you.
There's symbolism and there's symbolism and there's absurdness, and to me that's absurd.
Okay, the next one. The next one is the aftermath of the war and the peace, I guess. And you have the same girl in the center with the halo. The people are gathered around, and this is the other one that's been painted over, by the way. Now the doves are back alive, and they are resting on top of that same soldier from the original one who is now dead.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of different types of peace. There is go ahead.
Let's say the New World Order successfully destroyed the evil Nazi conservatives.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, and that's written on the floor by these 2 is the Navajo phrase, and I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, so I apologize. I do not know one lick of how to pronounce things in Navajo, but Zit Dit Gat, which translates to "the mountain is white," a very famous Navajo phrase, is written there. I know nothing of Navajo culture or history, and I'm not going to try to pin things onto there. But there is kind of a young man there who is kind of pounding his hammer on this and forging the new piece. I don't know. Adam's going to think I'm stupid, but who does that look like to you, Adam?
What, the blonde kid?
I would say he has orange hair, actually, and it's parted in a specific way.
Your phone went off. I can't work those crazy.
This kid right here. This gentleman right here. with the hammer and the.
That one.
Yes, that guy. The orange hair.
Are you going to try to suggest that's Donald Trump?
I am more than just suggesting that is Donald Trump. Yes.
Because we've never seen a kid with blonde hair parted to the side.
Who's next to him?
Your phone. It keeps on going off.
You got to touch the screen.
All right, I'll keep touching the screen.
Who's next to him, Ed?
Wait, where am I looking?
Yeah. Point to what I'm supposed to see.
There's a woman who seems to have her hand on her shoulder. And
is it Oprah?
The other hand is in his crotch.
Is it Oprah?
No, not Oprah. Oprah's off to the side.
I don't know. So look anything like this chick?
Melania.
Look at the nose. Look at the nose. Look at the eyes. Look at the cheekbones.
I was looking at. I thought you were gonna say the blonde chick.
So what the painting version got plastic surgery too?
Well, what does that have to do?
What?
With it?
It's again.
Anyway, there are some people there. Some believe, and I think there's something to it. I think it's very strange. Of course, this was long before he was elected, but it looked like Donald and Melania Trump right in front, trying to usher in this new world order of peace.
You know what? The Simpsons stuff is kind of creepy, where they make the proclamation that Donald Trump is going to be president. I don't know. I'm not saying it there. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Looks like him to me.
A kid with blonde hair parted to the side.
It looks orange.
I mean,
to me, but I mean, that's all right. Adam thinks I'm crazy. Adam thinks it's stupid. That's fine. That is fine. Perhaps, you guys out there listening, you be the judge.
I personally find the Nazi symbolism more compelling, because how many actual Nazis do you know? I mean, if you turn on CNN, you would think that this country has 100 million of them.
Mm-hmm.
But in real life, do you actually know any Nazis?
No, I don't.
I don't.
No.
I know some people who have conservative beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any white supremacists or Nazis. And
neither do I.
Watching the news, all of these terms, which do have different meanings. So, a white supremacist isn't necessarily a Nazi. Maybe there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah, and I know some people whose political views I would maybe describe as fascist. Doesn't necessarily mean they're evil,
no.
But, that they would be like, God, you're kind of a fascist, actually. Because they want big, huge government. They're extreme nationalists, which is, which is what a fascist is.
It's almost like everything to the right of center has been painted as literally Hitler, like you're a Nazi. Like the words, the subtle differences don't mean anything. Just everything, just lump it all there, and it's getting more and more like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that to me, that's almost kind of like
that I actually agree with you, Ed. And I know some people. Some of them are on the right, some of them are on the left, some of them are white, some of them aren't. But I know several people who I would say are kind of racist, who I think are kind of like, I think he's kind of a racist. But I don't know any white supremacists. I don't.
The racist people you know are a far cry from what people are thinking of as Nazis.
Right. I feel like they're perhaps prejudiced or intolerant, but they don't actually want bad things to happen to an opposite race. I don't think. I wouldn't associate them with them if they did think that. But I think you're right. And yeah, how many Nazis do I know? None. Never met one. But, and I've never met anyone who's in the KKK either, but I know they exist.
No, yeah, I'm not, and I'm not, downplaying, these people don't exist. The point I'm making is they're nowhere near as prominent as you would be led to believe.
No, they really aren't. But I don't know, these murals, they're definitely creepy. They felt the need to paint over them. Some people have even theorized, though, and I know Adam will think that some of them have been painted over, but the ones that have been painted over, some people who believe that these are prophetic said that, because they didn't paint over the ones that are the worst, or the ones that are the creepiest, but some say that they've only painted over the ones where the prophecy has already come true. Where that
they paint over? Did they paint over the Mayan tablet one?
Nope, they didn't. Well, hang on. Did they or didn't they?
Because that one didn't come true.
Yeah, no. There is the Mayan tablet. Adam is absolutely right that as far as we know, the world did not end in 2012.
Nope.
But yeah, there is the Mayan tablet. No, and that's actually the one we didn't really discuss yet, and that is the one with that one's very creepy. I mean, the scariest one is the Nazi dude with the sword and the machine gun. But the creepiest one is probably that Mayan tablet one where the background is burning and is a flame, and there's the 3 dead girls in caskets right out front, and they are noticeably of all of different descents. The one is like either a Jewish, she looks like she's like almost in like a Catholic schoolgirl thing, but she's holding some Jewish thing, so I don't know if that's supposed to represent both, Judeo-Christian, and then the other one is like a Native American girl, and this picture I'm looking at isn't the best here. But the other one is, yes, I think like a African girl, it seems to be. But
so children of the world.
Yeah, definitely children of different racial descents have all died, but then they're all back. Not those specific people, but they're all back in the final one to celebrate them. But that's one that's been painted over. The one that's supposed to be celebrating the peace at the end, which is kind of weird.
Kind of like the new Garden of Eden type of thing.
Yeah, why? I don't understand why they were ever put up. I don't understand why. I understand why they painted over some of them, but I don't understand why they didn't paint over all of them. They're creepy as hell. They're weird, and why would you have them at an airport? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Why would you have violence and destruction in any sort of airport?
Right? I mean, and you said it earlier, Ed, and it's something I hadn't really even thought of. But aside from the whole airport idea, it's just this is like a family place. It's not an art gallery.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to an art gallery, you expect to see some pretty stuff, some macabre stuff, some things in all different aspects.
Well, I mean, that's not to say. I mean, you're right. I mean, but that's not to say that an airport can't have art, but it should have art that more or less fits the
scheme,
general.
It should be appropriate, and I don't just mean appropriate as in.
I mean, you're not gonna
G-rated. I just mean appropriate to what it's there for.
Well, the thing is, you're not gonna put like erotic art inside of an airport or anything like that.
What kind of mood does this set though? You walk to the airport and, like you said, you got a million things to think about. Most people are nervous or stressed, and you see this crap, and it's not gonna help you.
No, it's not.
You should have just like rainbows and butterflies painted everywhere if you're gonna do something.
Yeah,
I mean, I can agree with that. It's probably best if you have the most comfortable atmosphere that you possibly can in an airport.
And this was well thought out and planned and approved by high level people.
Well, yeah, I think
dozens, including the mayor of Denver.
Something like this is
not a coincidence.
No, I think more. Based on what I generally think about Denver National Airport, which I know we'll get to at the end, it doesn't fit what my ultimate idea of this place is. I think this is a huge lapse in judgment when it comes to choosing the artwork for this place. I think that it's made some poor choices, and that's it.
I know Adam hated this. But I guess I'll ask you, or of course, Adam, chime in if you want. But the conspiracy behind this being Donald and Melania Trump,
Melania,
whatever, in this picture, goes back to this idea they weren't a couple.
Is Stormy Daniels in there anywhere?
I don't know. Maybe she's
or Jessica Drake, or
I don't know. Maybe she's the dead white girl in the corner. But her boobs aren't big enough. But the idea being that, yeah, they were not a couple yet. But if the Illuminati were to be approaching Donald Trump and trying to put him into some sort of position of power, would they have potentially approached him with a agent? And Melania Trump, in some ways, kind of screams secret Illuminati agent.
Why?
I don't know. How many models do you know that speak 6 languages fluently?
I don't know. She's, I mean, a model that maybe works at an international level that may better serve her career if she can speak multiple languages.
You got an answer for everything.
I mean, it seems pretty logical.
Does it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
So I think even Trump, this could very well be Trump, and I don't know if it is or not, without him being part of the Illuminati, mainly because they tend to know what's going to happen.
It wasn't the big...
This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Donald Trump commissioned these paintings.
No.
Yeah,
well, if Donald Trump commissioned it, there'd be gold and lights and all that sort of... It looked like... If Donald Trump was commissioning all of this, it'd look like a Trump casino.
It wouldn't be creepy either.
Probably not. These are the murals everyone talks about, but there's another piece of art in there that I thought was weird that you actually hardly ever even hear about. But there's another pretty enormous piece by an artist named David Griggs, who it's basically a huge arch, kind of, if you will, and it lends into, it actually looks exactly like the old tarot card with the Arch of the Tin Cups. And a lot of people, the symbolism of this is going back to the Nephilim stuff in the Book of Enoch, and where they talk about transportation and the different dimensions. Now, maybe this guy just thought, like, oh, it's an airport. Let's have,
I haven't seen this one. What's it called?
Reference. I don't know the name of the piece. David Griggs is the artist, and but it talks a lot about different. It's the idea being different dimensions and the Nephilim that kind of.
It's called a dual meridian.
Okay. And if you look up the picture of the thing that was released on the tarot cards, it's pretty much looks just like it. But just kind of a weird. It's art, I guess. It's cool, and it doesn't give out that same kind of creepy vibe, but it is kind of a weird thing to have this bit of like Nephilim male-female reproduction statue thing in the middle of an airport. But hey, that's some artists are just kind of quirky people, so I could give them that. But it's definitely weird. It's kind of a weird piece of art as well. And that one, I feel like if that was in a different airport, people would talk about how it's weird, but it gets glossed over here at the DIA because there's just so many things going on at this place. So I don't know. It's strange. There's a lot of strange stuff involved in this. Ignore my reference to Donald Trump if you wish, but take a look at that picture. It's weird, man. It's just weird. It means something. It's not just, it's brimming with symbolism.
I think it means
what it's symbolic of. Perhaps I'm wrong, but it's these murals are brimming with an obvious symbolism of the apocalypse.
I always thought the allure,
too, but it's symbolism of the apocalypse.
I always thought the allure with Donald Trump, though, was he wasn't a part of the Illuminati.
Well, that's the allure.
I mean,
people don't vote for Hillary Clinton because they think she was in Pizzagate.
That doesn't mean something won't happen while he's president.
So you think you think he's now part of the Illuminati?
Adam, I don't think anyone has ever voted for somebody because they think they're part of the Illuminati. I mean, a lot of people either discount this altogether or they vote for him because they think that. But if the Illuminati's out there creating the New World Order, I would venture to think they're probably controlling both sides of the political coin.
I'll bite. I actually don't think he is.
You don't think he's part of the Illuminati?
No. I think one big tip off, because I agree with you, and one of the reasons I didn't vote in the last election was because essentially I thought for at least the last decade, like, both sides are being played, like Democrat, Republican. It's all going to the same place. Looking back at the last, really kind of like over 2 years, but especially since he's become president, the venom from the media would not be doing that at one of their allies playing the other side.
Well, I think, this is something for an entirely different show, but
it was getting off topic. But
it's okay.
You don't. The Illuminati would not set it up like that. They would go about things differently.
Well, Josh, haven't you talked about before that you know a couple of people who are kind of off the Donald Trump isn't part of the Illuminati bandwagon because of certain little symbolisms that he does?
Yeah, there absolutely. There's he's throwing out the
triangle,
and the 3-3. Here's what I think on this real quick, and of course this is it doesn't. When I say real quick, that doesn't mean you guys can't chime in afterwards, but I know that's not the direct topic of this show. I do think Donald Trump's connected to it, whether he's a willing participant completely or not, that I don't know. Does he have the potential to break free from it? Perhaps. But I basically think the thesis of, if you will, of the Illuminati falls in line with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And I view Donald Trump as the antithesis of this. But all part of a system of control where they will show us the far opposite of that and how bad it is, right? How terrible it is that we broke from the thesis, and here is what it has to be. Like Ed was saying, that they paint this picture of, if you're to the right, well, then you're a Nazi. That's what you are. You are a Nazi. So what I await after they play around with their thesis and antithesis is what their synthesis will be in the end, to try to sell us on some new leader who's just perfect, who's just right, who's right down the center and right down the middle and just what everyone wanted for, and is going to bring safety and security for everybody, and forget about ideology and forget about all the stuff that makes sense and logic and reason, because he's not going to be crazy like Donald Trump or crazy like Hillary Clinton. He's going to be right in the middle, and he's going to support the Second Amendment but give you common sense gun laws, and he's going to all these things that they've painted this picture of what we supposedly want.
But you can see that all going on right now. Everything they're doing is basically set up to try and make it go that way. Mm-hmm. If they didn't do that, other things are going to swing far away from the way they want them to go. That's why it's a full-scale, basically, assault.
Is the opposite of ideology or philosophy portrayed within the political platforms of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump? No, not even. It's not even close. They're actually not even that far apart from each other. The reason that the left doesn't like Donald Trump is because he's mean, because he tweets, because he says dumb things. But politically,
that's part of the reason why I don't like him. But
politically, what's so bad? I don't like his politics because liberty is my key to how I vote and why I vote for certain people. But look at gun control, for instance. That's a big hot topic thing right now. Who is worse on gun control, Barack Obama or Donald Trump? If you go by their words or what they wrote in their books, Barack Obama was worse. But if you go by their actions, Donald Trump is significantly worse, actually, through things he's tried to push through.
I don't know.
that.
I think I don't think
significantly worse. Adam maybe would say significantly better.
I don't think
he maybe supports those ideas.
I don't think Donald Trump knows exactly what he wants. I think he's trying to.
I think it's actually exactly the opposite.
No, I think no. Donald Trump is trying to play into what he thinks his supporters want, which is exactly why when he was talking about birth control, he thought that he thought that it was going to be heralded that, oh well, yeah, in addition to punishing the doctor that performs the abortion, we should punish the mother that gets the abortion. Something like that is said by somebody that has no real ideological base when it comes to pro-choice or pro-life. He said that because he thought he was going to be playing into a group of voters that was going to support what he said, when it was quite the opposite. And I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, Josh, but instead of him gaining support, what he was able to do is actually, for one split second, get pro-life people and pro-choice people on the same side, because you had people like Ted Cruz, and then you had people like Elizabeth Warren saying, oh, well, no, that's not at all what should happen. They shouldn't punish the mothers at all. And to me, that's a guy that doesn't really have a position on anything. He has a position in and of himself. Whatever he has to do to, and I know that this is the same argument you made before about Hillary Clinton
and her husband, yeah.
That there is no real ideological base when it comes to them. It's just, what do I have to do to get followers? What do I have to do to get votes? What do I have to do to get more money? And I think that's exactly what Donald Trump is trying to do here. That's why when he ended up losing Iowa, because Iowa has a big evangelical base there, I thought to myself, you know what? Good for the people of Iowa. Good for them that they went and chose somebody who actually, you could actually pass as a true evangelical, a true, a true right-wing Christian conservative in Ted Cruz. Good for them that they didn't fall for somebody like Donald Trump, who's just playing into what they want to hear. Donald Trump isn't that. And anybody who thinks that is blinded by some ill-conceived notion that they want to see of this guy. I mean,
I don't disagree with anything you just said. I really don't. I don't disagree with one thing, but you just described every presidential candidate on both sides of the aisle for the last 20 years.
But Donald Trump,
every single one. But John Kerry used to take pictures of himself hunting because he didn't want to look like he was too anti-gun.
I agree that there's political candidates out there, there's politicians out there that will try to play into either which side, whether you were talking about a primary or whether we're talking about a general election. Look,
Bill Clinton used to dye his hair gray when he talked to old people.
Again, like I said, when
he talked to college kids.
It's part of the game. Every politician does it.
No, I understand, but Donald Trump does it to an absurd level, though.
So what's with the all the venom from the media? Because
Donald Trump does this to himself, though.
You think
he does it to himself?
You think the agenda of all of these stations is
it's not all the stations, Ed. It's Donald Trump does this to himself. The mannerisms that he has, the actions that he undertakes, he brings a lot of this onto himself.
You don't think the media is controlled?
No, I don't. Okay. Controlled by who? Controlled by who? The Illuminati? Come on.
No, but by leftists.
Pretty much.
What are there some news organizations out there that favor more towards the right or favor more towards the left? There are.
You think if I go get a job at CNN and I'm very openly pro-Trump, my career is going to go anywhere? or I'm going to maintain my
No,
employment.
they have people on CNN that are pro-Trump.
No, they don't.
Oh, yes, they do. You don't have cable.
People,
you don't even...
They have... Yeah, I've never watched cable news, Adam, ever in my life.
I watch CNN every day. They have plenty of Trump people on there.
They're not pro-Trump people. They're fake pro-Trump people. They are. They're what CNN passes. That's I suppose all the Democrats that are on Hannity's show every night, like Bill Beckel, I suppose he lines up right with your liberal views, right?
Bill Beckel used to be on CNN.
Bill Beckel is now on Fox News and has been for years.
Well, actually, I think he was fired from Fox News.
But when they have those,
he was on both.
Combs and Bill Beckel and those guys that are they're.
I think it's Bob Beckel, isn't it?
Is it?
Perhaps. I think it's Bob Beckel.
But do those guys line up with you? No, those are Fox News liberals.
But
those
Bob Beckel was on both stations, and he got fired during that whole purging at Fox News.
So Joe Scarborough from MSNBC, he's a Republican, right?
Okay, come on, Josh.
What? This is what you're trying to sell, Adam.
No, Josh. There's obviously there's different Republicans on each side. It's like there's different Democrats on either side, and yeah, some of them are going to be more supportive of Donald Trump than others.
Do you think?
I mean, CNN has it. They have some that are more favorable to Donald Trump than others, and you'll see that in any other network as well.
Do you think, and I'll include Fox News into this, do you think any of the major news corporations are even remotely objective?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay.
But Ed, you know what? I know how you are. I know what your thinking is. That's not something. I'm not surprised that you're asking me that question, or that you have that viewpoint. I'm not expecting something otherwise from you. I know what your thinking is of that, and you know what my thinking is.
This show is turning much into a Fox News or CNN tonight. We've made it very clear. You guys both said some good stuff. We made it very clear that you guys disagree on how the media operates. Would anyone care to jump back into the Denver International Airport while we're at it?
And the reason we got off is because of the Donald Trump in the mural.
Right. So I take the blame for sending people onto that.
It happens. Sometimes we get off on less political.
right. Absolutely. But hey, I hope people take some of that and go into it. Another guy who is controversial, or who some people have different opinions of, is Phil Schneider. You familiar with Phil Schneider at all, Adam?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Phil Schneider is a guy, I mentioned earlier, Bill Cooper, or Milton William Cooper. Phil Schneider is a very famous conspiracy theorist. I've described myself as a big disciple of Bill Cooper. I'm not necessarily a big disciple of Phil Schneider. I don't know how to take this guy. He has some extremely interesting things out there. He was around for a long time. He's most famous for what he said about when he was at Area 51. And he's talked about gray aliens and how he was caught in a crossfire and a soldier saved his life, but he was basically shot by a ray gun in essence, and was highly damaged. And he did have some big time scars and everything else, and I think a couple of his fingers were blown off, I believe, or most of his hand, I think, was gone. And he said this was from basically a fight that broke out with aliens while he was at Area 51, and he developed cancer from these wounds and other things. We mentioned him, Adam, on our aliens show, the Phil Schneider, but he was actually one of the first guys to start talking about the DIA. And he said some crazy stuff. He definitely said that there's like an alien link, much like with Area 51, that there's a link between aliens helping build it or being involved in hiding there or something along these lines. Much like Area 51. Not harder to believe than Area 51. If you believe that kind of stuff, then you're probably going to believe that there would be more than one place where the aliens might be hiding out. a lot of his stuff seems really weird. Like, just the thing that I find strange about him, or I find somewhat unbelievable, is the idea that this dude, who I don't doubt had a lot of geological and construction experience and a lot of know-how, that they would pick this one dude to be in all these different places. You know, like oh, this guy, he did such great work for us at Area 51 that now we're gonna bring him to DIA. When he seems like he's kind of been a whistleblower since day one. So I don't buy that. I do think he had some truth when it came to some things, and the reason I think that is, I tend to believe guys to some degree when they wind up being dead in a really weird way. Like
Suicide.
Bill, yeah, like Bill Cooper, who they sent a two groups. They sent a team of FBI agents and a team of ATF agents to his home for allegations of tax evasion, and then he was gunned down in his driveway. I find that to be kind of strange right after he predicted 9/11.
And he owed a lot of taxes.
Exactly. And taxation is theft. But Phil Schneider committed suicide, or what was ruled a suicide, on it originally in the local papers. They did not talk about this being a suicide at all. In fact, the situation is very different when you see the two papers that reported on it. They're both totally different things, but neither of them are what the later official thing said. But on January 17th, 1996, Phil Schneider, a little bit after the DIA stuff starts happening, was found dead. He committed suicide by somehow wrapping a catheter tube around his neck and double knotting it in the back, which seems difficult to do. But they did rule it a suicide. And his wife later issued a statement under oath, an official statement. Well, she wasn't officially under, but a verified statement, open letter, talking about how, because people were wanting some of his information, that all of his lecture material was gone after his alleged suicide. That everything in his office had disappeared, basically, after she found him dead. But this guy, Phil, he seemed to think that there was a whole lot going on at the Denver International Airport, and a lot of the kind of crazy stuff that you hear about, a lot of it comes from him. Now, we kind of were pretty clear that we think there's something going on there. Tunnels and bunker for the elite. At the very least, I think it's that. But a lot of people have made allegations of it being a secret CIA base as well.
It doesn't really. What's not working for me when it comes to like an alien base or anything like that is, if it is, why open it up to the public? Why have the public on those grounds? And look, I'm not saying that aliens don't exist. I do believe in extraterrestrials.
You probably are more into aliens than I am in that regard.
Yeah, but why open it up to the public? Why
put it underneath Denver International Airport sort of thing, and where there's people there?
Exactly. You have. Well, I mean, I know that people aren't allowed in those. The everyday public isn't allowed in those underground. A lot of those underground areas, but
the explanation would probably be due to the cover, especially if you have aircraft coming in and out constantly. That if you're, you have this out in the middle of the desert. Say they built the airport in the city, and you have this out in the middle of the desert, you're going to see all this activity coming in and out, versus you have it at the airport, it just blends in with everything else.
It could.
I'm guessing that's probably
no, and that could be an explanation. It seems like there's a lot of land out there, right. And you don't necessarily have to have. You could still have it in an area where there's. You could still have planes and stuff kind of around it, but not the public.
I know what you're saying. Another thing that plays into that is that a lot of people believe that the system of tunnels, like the complex network of tunnels under there, is a lot more complex than we even think, and that it's potentially connecting to a lot more underground. Like possibly going all the way to Area 51. You know, possibly going all the way to some of these other areas, all within a network of tunnels. Another thing that I just don't buy into at all, but the people who, the reptilian thing, the reptile people are big into DIA as well. They think this is a big time reptile thing, and when they did allow a camera crew to go in the underneath tunnels, some of the workers like dressed up like reptiles, just to be goofy. But you know, they talk about how we let people down in the tunnels, but you know, maybe I'm just looking for what I want to see or something. But when I've seen the footage of them going down to tunnels, it seems like they were covering up a lot more than they were exposing.
Well, and there's rumors that there's a lot of doors around.
Yeah, even Aaron, you know, our listener called in, or contributor called in with some stuff. Obviously, that there are doors that just seem to not that you're not allowed to go to. Which there's always doors you're not allowed to go through at an airport, but I don't know. Like, where do they go? Do they go? I mean, some people take it. I mean, is it aliens? Is it reptilians? Is it the CIA? I mean, there's some people that just come flat out and say that the Denver International Airport is a portal to hell. I mean, that it is literally just as why the symbolism everywhere?
Yeah, maybe it's
why the demons? Why the Lucifer statue? Why the cryptic macabre murals? That it is built in that exact spot because it is a portal to hell, trying to usher in or potentially block the apocalypse.
Kind of like the CIA thing. Imagine the branding possibilities with that, like CIA, the DIA.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, they could put that on brochures, like on T-shirts.
They could just have like a badge that says DIA, but then they just like pull the D off and there's a C underneath it. Like, ooh, we're secretive. I mean, then there's a thing we kind of mentioned earlier, the idea that if there was a mass genocide, it would be a place to either usher this in or hide people.
Well, again, I can see where the Illuminati people are kind of drawing correlation with this too, because a lot of, one of the big things with the Illuminati and the New World Order and the One World Government is mass genocide to better control the world. I mean, 2 billion or 1 billion people are more controllable than 2 billion people. So having a facility here to help knock out some of these people is, again, I can see the correlation that that those conspiracy theorists are drawing with it. Go ahead.
I don't know that fits though with everything else, with it being some sort of roundup internment, genocide camp, because man, that's a lot of money for a camp that could be done. The same thing could be done in other ways.
I agree.
It's a lot of building. It makes more. A lot of the other theories make so much more sense. I don't think you're going to do all this just to kill a couple. It's not like you can fit that many people in there, but you can fit a lot of people. But you're going to round them up from surrounding. I mean, it does make sense.
The idea of a hideout to me works a lot better. I think we're kind of all in agreement.
I agree. I'm not on board with the concentration camp or anything like that.
I'm no construction expert.
Well, you should be.
But I mean, I have worked in the construction fields, but I'm no huge like industrial complex structure. But I bet I could build just state of the art concentration camp for 500 mil easy. I mean, really, how hard can it be? But this seems to be built not for the common folk. This seems to be built to be nice for those people who are important. Yep. Quote unquote.
Well, like I said, it fits. It fits the notion that it is a bunker to protect world leaders, because it is a major international airport. They can sustain and handle large amounts of air traffic from all around the world, and instead of having to trek through, through a city or anything like that, you go right there, and you don't. I mean,
if we were under attack by something terrible, whether it just be an invading force from another country or
civil war,
the apocalypse, or civil war, or interstellar attackers, you can bet that they'd be wanting to hit LA and New York, and be moving to Chicago, and hit a Detroit and a Houston, or something like that along the way. And you would want something centralized where, I mean, truth is, and you got to think about how the government thinks with these things. Is Washington, D.C. really the best place to have your capital? No. I mean, how the
edge of the country.
The Brits took down Washington, D.C. and burnt down the White House in 1812. I mean, it's not the most defensible area.
Yeah.
But if you could have the real government working out of a hidden state-of-the-art bunker off the beaten path of Denver, 25 miles out of Denver, that's a place where you could defend very easily, actually. I mean, that's where you could defend and command from. So it's, like I've said kind of before with some of this stuff on the show and on other places too, people ask me if I, do you really believe in the Illuminati? And in a word, yes, I do. I do. Do I think that there's truly a group out there that refers to themselves as the Illuminati? I don't know. I don't know. That's...
What are the other ones?
You mean that there's a Illuminati like we're describing, but that's not what they call themselves.
Right. I mean, do I believe that there's groups of elites out there attempting to control this planet and usher in a one world government, a new world order? Yes, I absolutely do believe that. Do they actually call themselves the Illuminati? No, I don't know. Maybe. They might. I have no idea what they refer to themselves are. Is it the Freemasons? Is it what's some of the other ones we talked about, Adam?
That's what I was asking you. Who are the enemies of the Illuminati?
The Georgia Guidestone people, the Rosicrucians.
I was gonna say the Rastafarians, but
close enough. They're just the Rosicrucians are like Rastafarians without the weed, but yeah, I mean, I do think there's groups out there who are trying to do this. So yeah, I mean, to me, I think at the very least, the Denver International Airport is a place where powerful, rich, and important people can go to hide and survive while the rest of us
die
of whatever. I mean, it's to do from biological warfare. No, it's not biological warfare. It's for when the aliens attack. No, it's for when ISIS attacks. No, it's for when China and Russia team together. How about all the above? It's for the thing that they don't know about. That's what you prep for.
It's for the comet that's speeding towards Earth, or like you said, World War III.
Sure. I mean, to me, that's what you do. I go back to the line from the movie Contact, where they go off the record and they give them all the what's the thing you put in your mouth to die, like the cyanide capsule, put in your mouth, and they tell them, and like, hey, this is a cyanide capsule that you put in your mouth and you will die instantly. And they say the reason for why they do that, they say, I can give you a dozen reasons why you should have this, but the real reason is for the one we can't think of. And I feel like that could easily be something with why do you need a secret bunker for the elites? Well, I can think of a dozen reasons why they might need one, but the real reason is probably the one you can't think of.
Yeah. They know because they're causing that.
Well, I agree. I mean, like I said, I do agree with some New World Order stuff. I do agree with some Illuminati stuff. I do believe that there is something a little more nefarious to these things. But at the very least, does the government have bunkers? Well, I would think so. I would think so, and I imagine
More
this
than
is
just
one of
us.
them, and probably a lot more than just this one. Why the symbolism? I know we're trying to wrap up here, but why the symbolism? That's practically like the age-old question to the Illuminati thing. Why all the symbolism? You know, if you believe this stuff, you watch the Grammys and you see the Illuminati altar, what it seems to be, and the 666 is flashing in the background, and all the stuff that some people just say, oh, Josh, you're crazy for seeing that. You know, you just want to see that. Why tell you that? You know, why do they slip these things into The Simpsons and Back to the Future? Doesn't seem like it would make sense, right? But there's a lot of different beliefs to that. Some people believe that that's part of the game, that you have to show the people something to, because it's an occult nature.
It's a form of communication amongst each other.
Or that. There are reasons, but yeah, I mean, logically, if you're doing something this secret, why do you leave hints? I don't know.
Like you were saying, Josh, some of the hints aren't hints at all. It's in your face, like the Freemasonry stuff.
Sure.
But and this is kind of the connection I have to, a government bunker, maybe housing some of the some of the more important people within government in our country is Freemasonry, like I asked you earlier, is kind of sewn into the fabric of the founding of the United States.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Freemasons had anything to do with protecting the elites within our government.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't surprise me at all, just because it seems like it would go hand in hand, given where this country was founded.
Right, and you ask who paid for this. When it's like, God, who paid for this? Maybe there are some people out there who aren't necessarily government elites, or part of the Freemasons, or part of a royal family. Maybe there's some people out there who are just rich and just say, "Hey, I want to buy my way into this." When the shit hits the fan, I know we got to save the elites, but if I throw some money, do I get a room reserved for me when this stuff goes down?
I wonder how the rooms
and the answer might be, yeah, sure. You got $100 million you want to donate? We got a room with your name on it.
I wonder how those rooms are. So they're actually not that bad.
Yeah, I'd probably dig it. I bet it's nicer than my place. But, one other thing before we go to Pumpkin, before we go to each other for final thoughts and Pumpkin, but another thing that...
Pumpkin has a place there, just saying.
Yeah, Pumpkin, yeah, absolutely. And he's not letting us stay with him. But this is not completely verified. And I know Adam wasn't crazy about the sources he saw with it, because we talked about this a little bit before the show started. But there are a ton of rumors from a lot of different places that... the Queen of England and other members of the royal family of both England and some other countries, and a little bit more verified is some members that we know for sure are members of the Bilderberg group. A little bit after this spot was picked, bought up a ton of the land around there.
I was hearing that they bought like housing too.
Yeah, they have houses, they have acreage around this area. That, why all of a sudden did this become an area where a whole bunch of rich and powerful people just wanted a house? Just another house.
Rich and powerful people buying things isn't unheard of. They probably own hundreds or thousands of properties around the world. No, however, this location...
But yeah, that's
right.
What that's going to bring.
Yeah, I mean, to say, if you ask them, they would say that very thing. Say, hey, I'm rich. I own 16 houses. But why did number 16 or why did house number 17 all of a sudden have to be right by the DIA when it started being constructed?
Maybe they're aviation enthusiasts.
Perhaps. But, they seem to want to have the ability to be close by. Now, the fact that maybe the Queen of England owns some land, the Queen of England owns land all over the world, and it's not like she moved to Denver.
She's owned countries all over the world.
She's still in England most of the time. So, but then, if there's some super rich people out there, some powerful people, some royalty in your country, if you're from Europe or somewhere else, and all of a sudden you hear that the Queen of England is visiting Denver or visiting the middle of the United States, then get in your bomb shelter. Because,
Queen of England's going to be flying into the DIA and just spending some time in and around Denver.
Yeah, she's leaving in her private jet and going somewhere in the middle of the United States.
Ah, fuck.
We might be screwed. There is something is maybe about to happen.
Something's going on.
Let's just do final thoughts. We've pretty much
Can I pass this out there? It has nothing to do with. I mean,
Sure.
We were talking about Trump a little bit earlier, though. This is something that actually sounds very Star Wars-ish. In fact, it falls right in line with Star Wars.
I like it already.
It started kind of a joke, but then he thought it was a great idea, developing another service branch, another part of the military, called the Space Force. And this was and this is a quote from him: Space is a war fighting domain, just like the land, air, and sea. So right now I'm just picturing Attack of the Clones, Donald Trump sitting up on the balcony with Mike Pence and Mike Pompeo right next to him as the Star Destroyers are sitting there taking off.
Maybe under the DIA, maybe they need all that space because they're building a clone army.
Hey, maybe that's what it is.
Just saying. No, I mean,
Josh isn't a Trump supporter, but if that's what that turned into, I could totally see Josh being like, "Oh man,
this Clone War
oh my god."
I'd be in support of the, I would definitely be in opposition to the Military Creation Act, like Padme was. Just hopefully Jar Jar doesn't. We got a whole bunch of Jar Jars in our Congress, though.
So you wouldn't be for this?
No, definitely not.
But it would spark your interest a little bit.
I'd be for building X-wings. That'd be cool.
No Star Destroyers, though.
Yeah, no Star Destroyer. Well, no, I don't really want Star Destroyer. I mean, if we were attacked by a different planet, then yeah.
If we had a fleet of Millennium Falcons, would you be on board for that?
There's only one Millennium Falcon, Adam. Come on. I mean, a fleet of Y-1300 light freighters. I mean, it could be
or snow speeders. Would you be down for snow speeders?
No, they take too long to adapt to the cold.
Oh yeah, that's right. We had this discussion.
I mean, who built something called a snow speeder and then you have to adapt it to the cold?
Yeah, I forgot. We had this exact conversation.
I mean, that's just.
So Tom-Toms would be okay then?
Yeah, I don't know. They smell bad on the outside. I don't even want to know what they smell like on the inside. But yeah. No, I mean, but hey, spaceships are cool. I'm looking for
Space Force though.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, that's something. Yeah, I mean, I really hope that. Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe it'd be better if when we fought wars, we had to fight them in space. Maybe it'd be better. Yeah.
You won't be destroying the Earth anymore, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's good. Yeah. Space Force, here we come.
I want to see who the rebels are then.
Yeah. Well, Rebel Alliance. That's what I'm about.
Who'd be Darth Vader? Would it be Pence or would it be Pompeo? Who would it be?
Oh, I don't even know. Jeez. Oh, well, the thing is with the Emperor and Vader, one would have to be a Republican and the other one would have to be a Democrat. Like they'd have to join sides. To strengthen the Republic. And turn it into the Empire, They'd have to just like Anakin was a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be like, if the Jedi and Sith are Republicans and Democrats in this scenario, then
I think
they'd have to join forces and destroy both the parties and unify it under.
I think I asked you this before. Was Tarkin higher than Vader?
No. Only if you watch closely in the movies, you see that Vader only listens to Tarkin's orders when they're on Tarkin's Star Destroyer or on the Death Star, which he is command of. So militarily on those bases, Tarkin.
That's what I remember now.
Other than that, Vader is But they're neither one of them is officially ahead of the other one because Vader's not technically a military person. He's a member of the Empire, as Dark Lord of the Sith, where Tarkin is actually a military commander. So if you were on the planet that he was governor of, or his Star Destroyer, then Tarkin's in charge. Other than that, Vader is. Fun fact.
What a turn.
Yeah, that is we found a way to convert the Denver International Airport into Star Wars. We did it. We found a way. Adam, any last thoughts on the Denver International Airport? What do you think it is? Gut feeling? What's in there? What isn't in there? Just basic, few thoughts.
I think it is. I think it's a bunker. I think it's a bunker for world leaders. In the event of like you said, World War III, a comet heading towards Earth, whatever. I think it fits. It's a logical aspect of it. I mean, it's an airport. You could fly in people easily. You don't have to move very far if the bunker's right there. So that's ultimately what I think it is. And I don't think something like that is off the beaten trail, because why wouldn't there be bunkers all over the United States, all over the world? So that's what I think it is.
And you'd want one to be, somewhat centralized. There'd be a few of them anyway. There'd be a big hub or something.
Yeah, we got some comments.
More than just a bomb shelter.
Yeah. I mean, again, you want to have a working government. I mean, I think Secretary of Defense in Independence Day said that we needed to maintain a working government, and you do. You need to maintain a working government.
You do. Do you have anything to say about the some of the stranger things or some of the symbolism?
Well, like I said before, I think some of the symbolism that we see when it comes to the Freemasons is, obviously, it's right there in front of you, and I think that there is something to that when you go back to what this country is founded on. I mean, like you said, that, a lot of the founding fathers were in fact Freemasons, and I think Freemasonry still has a big impact on the way that that this country is governed, and I'm sure that there's still people within government. There's still politicians within government that are Freemasons.
Oh, yeah.
And again, that's just the root of this country and what it was founded on. As far as some of the other stuff, whether we're talking about Lucifer, some of the artwork, I know this may disappoint you guys, but I think that a lot of that is just poor choice of decoration, which is something that we've all done before. I'm sure we've all gone to IKEA and had poor choice of decoration. And I know it's different when we're talking about big blue horses or stormtroopers that look like they're destroying peace, but ultimately I think that's what it is. It's just a poor choice of decoration, poor choice of art to decorate an airport with.
Ed, got any final thoughts on I guess just try to keep it to what you think's going on underneath, and if you think there's anything to the symbolism.
I actually tend to agree with Adam as far as I think it's probably primarily a bunker. A lot of these, I don't buy in a lot of these far-fetched ones. Very obviously it exists, and that seems like the most logical reason, but the symbolism, it's on purpose. I mean, if you look at it as a whole, probably telling you it's probably the history of what happened, this rebirth of this little city. It's not going to be just elites either. They're not going to wash the dishes and grow the crops and all that sort of stuff. So, maybe it's some other things like, hey, the fence is keeping people, it's keeping them safe, saying, hey, don't go out there because whatever disaster, chemical weapon, nuclear fallout, whatever happened, you need to stay in here. And, this is, look at these murals. This is our history now. This is what happened. There was this evil government, and we overthrew them, and now together we're, experiencing the rebirth of this new order and this new government going forward. That we're going to rule over you, and we're going to do it right.
Yeah. No. I mean, were you done, Ed?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Listen. I mean, I think that underneath. Yeah. I don't, like we'd kind of said, I don't buy into the concentration camps, and I don't buy into the aliens and reptiles, and I don't. Is there a secret CIA base? I have a feeling there's a secret CIA base in anything that's important anywhere. I mean, at least some sort of presence. For the most part, yeah, I think it's a bunker. Really, I mean, nothing. I think it's a bunker, but I don't necessarily just think it's a bunker for, keeping a government going. I think it's that, but I think it is a bunker for elites. I think there are people out there all over the world who have a spot reserved, if you will, in this place, and that this is a place for the rich and the powerful and the famous and some other people that they feel are important. Because guess what? Just because you're rich and famous and powerful in government, you still need, like, aside from people that do the dishes, you need engineers and scientists and smart people to figure stuff out.
Some of the regular-ish
people will be
there as well.
So I do think that this is a massive city-sized bunker for elites and others that will be safe for something or saved from something.
I wonder if they need a graphic designer and somebody, an operations coordinator at that screen print shop.
Yeah, hopefully.
Or maybe some podcasters.
Yeah. Hopefully they need some controversial podcasters, and then we get a spot. And hey, I can wash dishes too. So
I can wash dishes also.
Yeah, I can wash dishes like a beast, man. I've got a bunch of kids. I know what's up. I'll run the daycare. Whatever, just give me a spot in this place. As for the symbolism, yeah, I mean, I don't see how it's... I know that Adam thinks that, like, some of it's just kind of put in there in place, and I can see that to some degree. But to me, if it's this place that you're doing this, you go out of your way to make sure. If you want it to truly be a secret, you go out of your way to make everything innocuous and calm and not the way it is. So what is this symbolism trying to tell us? I don't really know. I don't know. I think it's trying to tell us something about ushering in a new age. And is there a spiritual aspect to it and a cult aspect to it? Yeah, perhaps. Maybe. I definitely don't rule that out. I think these murals and these guide stones and these statues, I do think they're trying to tell us something, or tell somebody something. Maybe they're not trying to tell me something, but I think they are trying to tell somebody something and paint a picture. Figuratively, they literally did paint a picture, but figuratively paint a picture to tell us about something incoming. Ed, what you said isn't something I'd really thought of, but yeah, I mean, is this going to be their version of the history for after the fact? I mean, they painted over the murals, so but maybe they could just peel it right back off.
Can I add one thing, Josh?
Sure,
when it comes to the mural, I think somewhere I was reading is the painter was of Mayan descent.
Was what?
Mayan descent. Of Mayan descent.
Yeah. Taguma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, he's Mexican or Guatemalan or whatever. But
perhaps I'm not positive that I know there's a lot of Navajo stuff going on too. So I don't know if he actually was descendant of Navajo or if he was just up on their culture or what.
But. Yeah, but I mean, but the tablet, the Mayan tablet, that wasn't the first mural, right?
I think it's technically the second, or what is now the first.
Okay. Either way, it's towards the beginning.
and again, I mean, I you know, people could take the symbolism, people could take the perception and everything of it, and it is. It does look like there is a takeover, there's a war, you know, people were getting killed, and then everything was better afterwards. It could very well go back to that original notion that, in maybe what this guy ultimately believed, one guy ultimately believed.
Mm-hmm.
That the world was going to end in 2012, and this is how it was going to happen. It didn't happen.
He does say that he was instructed to put exactly what he put.
Okay.
In the
the world ending in 2012 by the Mayans is just an interpretation. They didn't necessarily think it was going to end.
Well, they thought that there was, and maybe "end" is a bad way of putting it, but I've always heard too that they thought that the world necessarily wasn't going to end. In terms of there wasn't going to be a planet Earth anymore, but it was going to end in the sense that the way that we knew the Earth was going to end, and there was going to be this rebirth, which what we could be seeing in that mural.
You see a new world order in our lifetime, and it'll be very obvious the events in the past.
Yeah, but and again, though, I mean, if it's going back to that 2012 date, mm-hmm. that never happened.
No, it didn't. And although there are some people out there that believe that the world did end in 2012, and
sure.
that we are that we are stuck somewhere in a matrix. But I'm not saying that I believe that, and that's not even a topic for a different day. If it was going to be a topic, it would be one for a different day. But I don't think that's floating in Pumpkin somewhere. No, I mean
it could be.
You know, and Adam, honestly, too, what you said, I mean, that is not too dissimilar from biblical prophecy as well.
Yeah.
Where, you know, when the end times come in the book of Revelation, it doesn't mean that the world necessarily stops revolving that day. That's when
it's just
it all happens. Yeah, that's when it all begins. When the end begins, if you will. They don't necessarily say how long it takes to usher in the end. You know, I mean, if the middle is 1,000 years, maybe the end takes 10 years or 100 years. you don't know. But shall we go to Pumpkin? I hope this was pretty informative for people for the Denver International Airport. I know we threw a bunch out there. We agreed on some stuff. We disagreed on some stuff, and I don't know. It's a fascinating one. Yeah.
Cried.
Yeah, I think it's to me this is a fascinating one. I could do DIA research forever. It creeps me out. It's cool. It's one of these things where there isn't like a conclusion you kind of come to. It just kind of for every answer you get 10 more questions.
Would you want to go to the Denver International Airport and start asking questions?
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to go there if nothing else. I kind of want to fly to Denver just to go to Denver, just to go to the DIA.
Would you stand underneath the horse?
I would. I'd go. Yeah, absolutely. It just bums me out that I can't see the full mural anymore. I mean, they painted over the biggest attraction, you know, but I don't know. Adam is shaking up Pumpkin. Ed is about to reach his hand into Pumpkin and pull out the next topic, which will be, Ed, you're our math guy. When's the next?
April 10th.
April 10th.
Look how quick he
is the next deep
you can't read it.
Sorry, I forgot. I'm just... Oops,
Ed already knows.
I was so excited.
Okay. Our next topic is...
It's a return.
Okay.
It is our second episode of this one. But on April 10th, we will be doing part 2 of JFK.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Oh man, there's some new stuff that's come out too. So
and didn't we determine too that we are going to finish off the topics inside of Pumpkin and then come up with and then refill it after we're done?
Yeah, before we put anything else into Pumpkin, we are going to empty out Pumpkin completely, a rebirth, if you will. How many we got in there, Ed?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, yeah, we got 5 in there. So by the end of this year, we will have emptied Pumpkin, and then we will dump in a whole bunch of stuff. Some of it will be revisits. Some of it will be brand new stuff that we haven't even thought of. But this has been episode number 20 of the Deep Issues Podcast. I'm Josh Houselander for Ed Zaharsky, Adam Hernandez. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Stay creepy.
See you guys.
See you.